On December 4, 1969, Chicago police officers burst into an apartment at 4:30 in the morning and opened fire. They fired over 90 shots. The man they were there to kill fired none. His name was Fred Hampton. He was 21 years old. He was the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party and one of the most gifted political organizers America had produced in a generation. He was also 8 months away from becoming a father. Evidence that emerged in subsequent investigations strongly suggested that Hampton had been drugged by an FBI informant before the raid so that he would not wake up when the police entered. He was shot twice in the head at point-blank range while lying in his bed. The officers who killed him were never criminally charged. The FBI agent who ran the operation received a bonus. This is the assassination of Fred Hampton, and it is one of the most disturbing examples of what the United States government was willing to do to silence voices it found threatening. Fred Hampton grew up in Maywood, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, where he was a star student and athlete who could have pursued almost any path he chose. He chose to organize. By the time he was 20 years old, he had built the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party into one of the most effective community organizations in Chicago. The Panthers are often remembered primarily for their militancy and their confrontations with police. What is less remembered is what they actually built in communities. Hampton created a free breakfast program that fed hundreds of children every morning before school. He organized free medical clinics in poor neighborhoods. He negotiated a truce between Chicago's most powerful street gangs, the Blackstone Rangers, and the Disciples, an achievement that professional mediators had failed to accomplish for years. He called the coalition he was building the Rainbow Coalition, bringing together Black, white, and Latino community organizations under a single banner. He was 20 years old when he did this. J. Edgar Hoover had designated the Black Panther Party the greatest threat to the internal security of the United States in 1969. The Chicago FBI office, under Special Agent Roy Mitchell, was running an aggressive COINTELPRO operation against Hampton specifically. They had placed an informant named William O'Neill inside Hampton's inner circle. O'Neill had become Hampton's chief of security, one of the people Hampton trusted most. O'Neill provided the FBI with a detailed floor plan of Hampton's apartment, including the location of his bedroom. He also provided Hampton with a barbecue the night before the raid. Evidence later emerged suggesting the barbecue contained a powerful sedative called secobarbital. A toxicology report conducted after Hampton's death found evidence of the drug in his system. The FBI has never formally acknowledged that Hampton was drugged before the raid. In the early hours of December 4, 1969, 14 Chicago police officers acting on information provided by the FBI surrounded Hampton's apartment. They entered at 4:30 a.m. What happened next was documented in forensic detail by subsequent investigations. The physical evidence showed that almost all of the shots fired came from outside the apartment, directed inward. The Panthers inside fired one shot, possibly two, almost certainly as a reflexive response to the initial burst of police gunfire. Hampton's bodyguard, Mark Clark, was killed almost immediately. Hampton's pregnant girlfriend, Deborah Johnson, who was sleeping next to him, was pulled away from him by officers who then shot him twice in the head. Johnson later said that Hampton never woke up during the raid. He was unconscious when he was killed. The Chicago Police Department initially claimed the raid had been a fierce gun battle in which officers had defended themselves against Panther aggression. This account collapsed under forensic examination. The bullet holes told a different story than the one the police were telling. A subsequent federal grand jury investigation found that the FBI and Chicago police had misrepresented what had happened. Civil rights lawsuits filed by Hampton's family and survivors of the raid were eventually settled in 1982 for $1.85 million paid by the city of Chicago, Cook County, and the federal government. The settlement included no admission of wrongdoing. Roy Mitchell, the FBI agent who had run the COINTELPRO operation against Hampton, was never charged with any crime. William O'Neill, the informant who had provided the floor plan and who many believed had drugged Hampton, was given a new identity and relocated by the FBI after the truth began to emerge. He died in 1990. The bonus payment he received from the FBI for his work in the Hampton case was $300. Fred Hampton's son, Fred Hampton Jr., was born 25 days after his father was killed. He has spent his life carrying on his father's political work. The apartment where Fred Hampton was killed became a landmark in Chicago's black community. The bullet holes in the walls were preserved for years as evidence of what had happened. In 2006, Chicago named a street corner after Fred Hampton. The man who negotiated peace between Chicago's most powerful gangs, built free clinics and breakfast programs, and was building one of the most promising grassroots political coalitions in the city's history, simply received a street corner. The FBI agent who orchestrated his killing received a pension. The question Fred Hampton's story forces you to ask is not whether the United States government is capable of drugging a 21-year-old community organizer and having him shot dead in his sleep. The question is what Fred Hampton might have become if he had been allowed to live past 21, and what that cost all of us.